Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Go Big or Go Home. I am Old Man Troy, joined by the future newlywed Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. That's probably going to be about the only joke that I throw out today, youngster. We're doing a special show with the recent allegations, well, not really allegations, but the recent news of Urban Meyer basically covering up for his assistant coach that was accused of domestic abuse. We decided that we wanted to throw out a quick little show because it's the hottest topic in sports right now. And the second reason, youngster, is that we have been on this show and other shows that we do as supporters of domestic abuse awareness. So it's only, I don't want to say only fitting. It's just right for us to do a show like this because you and I, and me personally, to share my story. For those that listen in all the time know this. For those that are new listeners, and I hope we get a bunch of new listeners. When I got my master's degree for 18 months, youngster, all I did was research domestic abuse because that's what my thesis was on. I did everything for 18 months based around domestic abuse. So to me, this really hits home. We're going to talk about it quickly. I'm going to turn it over to you because you're so eloquent, filling people in with details. I'm more of just the interrupter and talker. So I'm going to let you fill the listeners in. Most of them that are listening to this show probably already know the details, maybe more than we know. But we want to give our quick thoughts. We're going to keep this Go Big show right around 20 minutes, youngster. So go ahead, fire. Boom, boom, cannon. Let's go.
Yeah, we did a previous Go Big or Go Home show this week, a couple days ago, previewing the bottom four teams of the 2017 season for the upcoming 2018 season. We'll keep that series going, but obviously if, more detail comes to light, if Meyer gets fired, if Meyer keeps his job, we'll do another special little show as well. So stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter at YoungsterOldMan. But so as everyone knows the situation, Urban Meyer, it seems as though he is keeping this whole thing under wraps with an assistant coach, Zach Smith, who's a wide receivers coach, who I guess I'll say this. I don't want to get insanely in-depth because, like you said, we want to keep this around 20 minutes. But Bruce Feldman, who's a college football national reporter for Fox Sports, I think he brought up a fantastic point, and it's exactly where I sit on it. This is basically what Urban Meyer has really done to this point. Zach Smith is being basically accused of domestic violence against his ex-wife now. Courtney is who she is, an ex-wife. And so basically Urban Meyer knew about it, according to a report from another national college football reporter, Brett McMurphy. Basically Urban Meyer knew about it. Okay, these charges came up in 2015, and Zach Smith was fired days before the Big Ten media days, which were last Monday and Tuesday. And I had mentioned it on that show as well. Well, there are no, huge, torn ACLs to Wisconsin's starting running back type news. And Ohio State, Urban Meyer talked about this Zach Smith guy who got fired. But it's not, huge news. And then it's funny because this story comes out and it becomes the story of the sports world for probably the next week. But at that time, Urban Meyer said, I didn't know anything about this. I just got a text about it yesterday. And so Zach Smith got fired. Urban didn't know anything about it. It turns out, according to reports, he did know something about it. So Bruce Feldman brought this up again, Fox Sports. I credit to him for what I'm about to say here, my take on this. Urban Meyer, to this point, has lied to the media during Big Ten media days that he didn't know. Well, he did know 3 years ago about this Zach Smith and, abusing his ex-wife. He knew about it. Okay, but he lied to the media at Big Ten media days. If he lied to the media and if he lied by keeping it a secret to the Ohio State athletic department and his AD and the people that he should have went to with this, if he lied to them and kept it under wraps to them for years, he absolutely deserves to be fired. No question about it, 100%. I'm an Ohio State fan. If that's the case, he should be gone. and I love Urban Meyer. I think he's typically a good dude, but again, these coaching stories, it seems like they just want to keep things under wraps. Whether it's Penn State, Joe Paterno, whether it's Michigan State and Nasser, whether it's Pitino at Louisville, it's these coaches thinking that they can get away by not saying anything to the higher-ups, which they're supposed to do, basically.
Kevin, there's so much money involved in college athletics that it kind of destroys your soul. And I'll just go off the beaten path a little bit as a former college coach. Granted, I was Division III, I was Division II. There are rules to follow, there are protocols to follow as a coach. And I can honestly say that I never violated any rules on purpose. But let me tell you, Kevin, the pressure to win, even at Division III and Division II, I'm not saying what any coach has ever done is right. Believe me, wait until I talk about the Urban Meyer situation. But being behind the desk, running a program, you are under so much pressure that at the end of the day it comes down to winning and losing. In Division I, it's not only about winning and losing because the winning and losing equates to money. And so, again, I am not saying what any of these guys have done is right. But I'm saying, again, there's so much pressure that the thought goes, well, maybe I'll just brush this under the rug. Maybe nobody will find out, and we can win and we can bring money in and blah, blah, blah. So I've been there, and you think about when you have to report a violation, when you have to report academics, when you have to do this and do that. The thoughts go through your mind like, oh, my God, now I've got to lose this player. I've got to lose this. I've got to do this. My God, this is going to hurt my team. And, again, I don't agree with it. But those thoughts can creep into your head, Kevin, and those that are under so much pressure sometimes use bad judgment and make bad decisions. Doesn't mean they're bad people. I just wanted to throw that out there because as a former coach at a lower level, I was under a ton of pressure. And it's not Division I Big Ten football. So sorry to interrupt, but I thought that was relevant to what you were saying.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think Pitino can be suspect. I think Joe Paterno can be suspect. I don't necessarily think Urban Meyer is a bad guy. I think he could have thought that he could have gotten away with something at the worst by not talking to higher-ups. But again, to go back to my overall thought here, my final thought really on this whole thing, is that he lied to the media. That's all that we know right now. And I say that because in 2009, something came up with Zach Smith while at Florida. Urban Meyer had the head coaching job at Florida. Zach Smith was an assistant because Zach Smith played for Urban Meyer at Bowling Green. This goes back a number of years. Zach Smith, it's either grandfather or uncle was a tutor for Urban Meyer. These two go back a long ways. Okay? So the notion, the narrative that Urban Meyer didn't know about any of this going on is complete crap. That's absolute garbage. The question that nobody really knows is that if Urban Meyer in 2015, when he found out about this, did he go to the higher-ups at Ohio State and let them know? Because charges weren't completely filed and it was known in 2015. It just became known in 2018 that this is truly what happened with Zach Smith. If Urban Meyer knew about the information in 2015 and went to the higher-ups at Ohio State then that's all he could do. That's all he could do, and he's perfectly fine, and I think that's exactly how he would, in the end, keep his job. Because then all he did was lie at Big Ten Media Days to the media. If he did what he was supposed to do within his athletic department in 2015, we don't know that yet. It's assumed that he kept it under wraps and that he's going to get fired. That's the assumption. That's my assumption as well. I'm not saying I think he's a good guy and I think he did the right thing here. I think he's screwed. I think he did the wrong thing. But it's not known yet. That's why he's not fired yet. It's not concrete yet. Or Ohio State knows that he didn't, come to them and they're just trying to buy him out. That could be it too at the moment, but we don't know yet at the time of this recording. And we're recording this on August 2nd at 6 p.m. Eastern. But so this is why I bring this all up, is that in 2009, this happened with Zach Smith and Urban Meyer at Florida. And Urban Meyer went to the higher-ups at Florida at that time and said, hey, I know this just happened. These are allegations against Zach Smith. Just wanted to let you know. He did that in 2009. So it's weird that he did that in 2009, but in 2015, he wouldn't do it at Ohio State. Again, I think that he didn't. I think that it mattered more to him now, and he knew Zach Smith even better, and he wanted to keep it under wraps. That's my overall assumption. But I think it is possible that he did what he did in 2009, went to the higher-ups in Florida, nothing came of it. So when he became the head coach at Ohio State, and in 2015 this came up again with Zach Smith, he might have went to the higher-ups at Ohio State then, and nothing conclusive came from it until 2018. So we don't know concrete for sure if Urban Meyer is just screwing around and trying to leave everyone under the bus and trying to get away with something. That's the assumption. That's my assumption as well. Again, we just don't know for sure. If he is a scumbag, basically, then, again, he should be fired. And I'm glad he will get fired.
Well, Kevin, I'll throw this out there. You know, you say if he's a scumbag. Again, you know my opinion on domestic violence. Right. I am a big advocate. I'm even in the works of putting together a nonprofit organization that is going to deal with bullying awareness, domestic abuse awareness, something that I'm going to do down the line. So this is very passionate to me. I want to use the word scumbag because as I did my research, and I'll throw this out there, because you mentioned the closeness between Zach Smith and Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
And I'll use you as an example. Let's say for some reason that this was you there, and I knew about it. I definitely would not be happy about it, youngster. I would, and I would definitely say you need to go get help. You need to pay the consequences. I would tell, and again, this is all hypothetical, folks. The youngster is a great guy. Hypothetical, but what I would do if you did it,
sure,
I would be like, man, you know what, youngster, I like you a lot, but you really screwed up. This is not acceptable. Go get the help, pay the consequences, and then I would tell the future Mrs. Youngster to get the hell out of your life, just to go away.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that I think of you any less at that point. I mean, I would not believe that you did it. But I would also want you to get help. But you would need to pay the consequences also. And I hope that makes sense. Just because I am against it and I want to raise awareness against it, people do make mistakes and they need to pay the consequences for it. It's not right. But you're going to pay the consequences. I want to touch on your point. Because if Urban Meyer went to the administration and said, Zach Smith is being accused of domestic violence, I wanted to make you aware, and nothing came out, that opens up a can of worms in that Ohio State administration, Kevin. That opens up a huge can of worms. So, we can only assume about this paid leave because one of two things are going to happen here. Like you said, he didn't tell anybody. He was covering it up. He's going to get fired. And I agree, he should. If he didn't go to the proper authorities, then he deserves to be fired. Back to the situation I said, if I found out about that, I would also be the one contacting somebody like, hey, this guy's got it, so on and so forth. The other thing is, Kevin, that he did go there, and now the university is trying to cover their rear. However, I'm leaning more toward Urban Meyer not saying anything because of him lying at Media Day. If he went to the higher-ups and then all of a sudden this all comes out, he very simply could have said, when I found out, I notified the university of what happened. That would have been a simple answer, and that's all. That would have ended it.
Right.
Like, hey. And then at that point, you know, people say, well, why'd you keep him on the staff, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets into the all kinds of hairy details there. But I'm going to throw this out there, too, as we look at the time, because we want to keep this short. Should this come out that he did not go to the administration, Kevin, I am 100% with you, and I'm probably on the same page as a lot of people. If he tried to cover it up, if he didn't notify anybody, he does need to be terminated from his position. And I know there's going to be naysayers out there like, oh, he's blah, blah. No. And I'll go this way. Even a guy in his position of power, as a coach and a mentor to young kids, I think he let the kids down if he actually lied and didn't go to administration. What is he teaching these other kids on his team?
Right.
Certain situations you don't have to tell people, because I want everybody out there to think about this, and Kevin, you've heard me reference this before, especially when it comes to domestic abuse. I want all of you out there to think about some special lady in your life, whether it's a sister, whether it's a fiance, whether it's a mother. And now I want you to think that they just got abused, and somebody in that knows them via work, via friendship, they just keep their mouth shut. They don't say anything. They don't say a word. This person that you care about deeply was abused, and nobody's saying anything. Not a peep. It's going to continue. What's going to happen to the person that's doing the abusing? Oh, nobody said anything. I'll just keep doing it.
Right.
And a lot of times, Kevin, victims, because I haven't been on social media yet. I'm not home. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of bashing of Courtney Smith for her doing that interview and doing all those things. And it's easy for the victim to be, oh, yeah, they'll flap in her mouth. Apparently she's got text messages. She's got pictures. She's got all kinds of stuff. And then people are going to say, well, why did you wait 3 years to come out or do something about it? And I'll tell you why, youngster. Based on my research that I did, and I want to prop my master's program at Full Sail University. We always talk about University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, a great school that Kevin and I went to. But I also went to a great school to get my master's in new media journalism, Full Sail University. When I did my research there, Kevin, on this topic, victims are afraid. You think about Courtney Smith. You think about Zach Smith and the power that he had, the position he had, and the income that he had. I mean, I'm sure she's an intelligent woman. I'm sure she could go find employment. But you look at how her life was. Sometimes these people are also financially strapped. They're financially abused. They depend on the husband. They depend on him to be the provider. They're afraid. They don't know what's going to go on. Apparently there's a protection order out against him now. So this guy was abusive, and maybe she was scared for her life. A lot of these victims are. And it's hard. It takes a very, very strong, and I'm not going to say woman, I'm going to say victim, to go to authorities. To even open up to a friend, it takes a strong person to do that, because if your abuser finds out, guess what's going to happen, youngster? The abuse is going to get worse. And it does. We see in the news all the time spouses killing other spouses.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. We see, too, where victims turn around and kill their abuser. So, I haven't been on social media. I haven't read all the backlash to Courtney Smith, but I'm sure it's out there. And I want to just say this, put a stop to it. There's a reason it took 3 years to go to the authorities. There's a reason. Apparently, what I heard on the radio today, Kevin, the one that really got me, like literally driving in the car, that their young children were in a room, and again, this is all allegations, that he choked her and threw her up against the wall while her two kids were watching. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about, oh, she should have just told somebody. Well, apparently she told Urban Meyer's wife, and she told other coaches' wives. And then people say, well, she sure went to the authorities. Okay, it's not that easy. I mean, some people, Kevin, are so, and I'll use the word brainwashed, scared, intimidated. They don't have a choice. And it takes a good support system to help that person go to authorities. And my last point, then I'm going to let you wrap it up because I know we want to get going. How many times, Kevin, have we seen allegations come up of domestic violence? And I'll say it this way again because it's mainly women. Women that go and they want to file charges. They go to the authorities, and then all of a sudden, the charges are withdrawn. The charges are dropped. Many times people say, well, it's because of the big payday. But many times it's so grueling, and you have to relive everything, and sometimes the proof just isn't there. And to go through all of that, it's tough. So when you're the victim, it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. I'm going to call the police and I'm going to go file charges and get this person out of my life. Not that easy, youngster. That's how I'm going to end it. I'm going to let you throw your 2 cents worth in. When you're done, I'll wrap the show up.
Yeah, they're very serious, accusations to be making. Again, this came up in 2009 originally, and that's why it's just weird. To me, that's what's weird about this situation is that Meyer did step up and did tell the higher-ups at Florida about it, and nothing came of it. 2015, again, domestic violence, police investigated, and Zach Smith wasn't charged. Did Urban Meyer go to the higher-ups at Ohio State? It seems like he didn't. I don't know what the difference is between 2009 and 2015, what made Urban Meyer keep his mouth shut if that's what happened. But it seems like that's the issue, is that Urban Meyer didn't tell Ohio State. And Ohio State had no idea that this is what Zach Smith what was happening in 2015 because, again, here's a line from the article I'm reading. Ohio State fired Zach Smith the same day Mick Murphy first reported about the 2015 incident. As soon as Ohio State knew about Zach Smith and the 2015 incident, they fired him. So if Urban Meyer went to them in 2015, then Zach Smith would have been fired in 2015, not 2018. So that's why it seems like Urban Meyer is screwed here, is that he tried to keep this under wraps for his friend, a family friend, really, that he's known for years, that he coached, that he was, and Zach Smith was under him in terms of being a coach and a player. These two are friendly, to say the least. Urban Meyer has his back. But that's what's interesting to me is that in 2009, he did go to higher-ups about it. In 2015, it seems like he didn't. And I don't care if he lied to the media in 2018 about it. I don't care. Because while he could have handled it better, like you said, Troy, to just say, okay, I knew nothing about it, he's fired, boom, next question. He's just trying to deflect and get, let's go talk about football. That's done, over, he's fired. I understand that. Again, he could have handled it better if he did go to higher-ups and he's just trying to deflect and, okay, let's just move on. I don't want to talk about it, basically. I understand that, if that's the case. It just seems as though, again, Ohio State first learned about this according to a report from a national college football reporter. And as soon as Ohio State did, they fired him. So that's why, again, it seems like Urban Meyer knew about this but kept it hidden. And if that's the case, he should be fired. It's just a matter of time. But again, we don't know 100% concrete. That's my overall thought on it. Again, like you said in our little pregame here, Troy, you alone could talk about it for 3 hours. This is right up your alley. But I just wanted to fill the fans in, at least on what we know to this point and what our beliefs are at this point. And again, in the end, I think Urban Meyer hit it, and he should be fired for it and never coach again. I think that's a very real possibility. I think that's what happens. But,
well, you know what, youngster, I want to fill the fans in that, we bring this topic up, and Kevin and I, and the Talking Sports with the Youngster and Old Man, we are 100% in favor of domestic violence awareness. We always have been. We've talked about it on other shows. And again, like you said, yeah, it's up my alley, Kevin, but you support it too. And at the end of the day, Urban Meyer didn't do the right thing. And I'll throw this out there, and again, I'll keep it short. Let's say he did go to the Ohio State authorities. In my mind, he still didn't do enough. Think back to what I said, if you did it. I care about you, and the thing is, I have your back too, Kevin. Any day, any time, 24 hours a day, I'll have your back no matter what. If you screwed up, especially in a situation like this, that is so extravagant as domestic abuse, I am not going to be happy with you, but I would also want to, at that point, I've got to teach you a lesson, but I want you to get help if I care about somebody that much. Sure. What you did is so wrong, but if I care about you, and in our situation, if you notice one of the things I said, you're going to get help, but you're going to pay the consequences. He should have fired Zach Smith then, and he should have got him some help, because you mentioned the pattern. 2009 it happened. It happened again in 2015. People are a product of their environment, and it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks. And what I mean by that is, if you're an abuser, you're going to continue to be an abuser until you pay the consequences and get help. Just going to jail isn't going to stop somebody from being an abuser. They need to get professional help. And so, even if this comes out, Kevin, on the other end of the spectrum, that Urban Meyer did go to the athletic director, said it, Ohio State then is the one that's covering it up, and didn't say anything, and Urban Meyer keeps his job, I'm still going to say he didn't do enough as a person.
Yeah. As
a person, he didn't do enough. And if you're going to call yourself a friend, the old adage is, and maybe it's because I'm an old guy, tough love is sometimes the love that is needed. Sometimes you got to give the tough love. And it's hard to give tough love because it puts you in a bad situation, an uncomfortable situation. But in something like this, it needed to be done. So my final point there, Kevin, as a person, Urban Meyer didn't do the right things. Again, we don't know what's going to come of this, and when it does, we'll have another special episode. I don't know if you got anything else, youngster, but I'm done. I am zipping my lips because, like you said, I could keep going on and on.
Yeah, no, in short, I agree with you 100%. He could have done more, at the least. I'll leave it at that.
All right, folks, hope you enjoyed this special episode of Go Big or Go Home with the youngster and old man. The youngster on Twitter, @KidCunny. The old man on Twitter, TroyRobert967. Make sure you follow our show handle, @YoungsterOldMan, all one word. Just stay tuned. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more news coming out about this. But then on the flip side of that, Kevin, to be a little positive at the end of the show, we are going to talk Big Ten football. But again, in light of this situation, sometimes sports takes a back seat. And in a situation like this, for domestic abuse, definitely football takes a back seat. I'm going to close with this announcement to anybody listening in. Don't do the same things Urban Meyer did. And what I mean by this, youngster, if you know of somebody out there that is being abused, and it doesn't have to be physical, it can be emotional, it can be financial. If you know of somebody in that situation, you need to figure out a way to get that person out of the situation and get them help. Because as I mentioned earlier in the show, people are going to say, why did it take 3 years for this to come out? Because the victims don't know what to do or they're scared. Don't keep quiet. And again, it could put you in a tough situation, but do the right thing. Refer them to a shelter. Refer them somewhere. If you don't want to go to the authorities yourself or you don't want to do it, find help for that person. But don't turn your head. Don't stay quiet. You need to make it known. You need to get that person help. So with that said, again, for the youngster, I am the old man. Hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll get back at you next week via the grueling truth. Have a good day, everyone.